Baby doll, look at you over there. Breaking news. There is PulseX updates that has just been pushed through and it's order routing. And don't worry, there are more to come because just a little order routing update is pretty much a joke because there's so much more to come. But I want you to know that order routing is a great sign that we are getting updates. They are being pushed. And Richard Hart has just posted this right now. So as he mentions here right now, great PulseX news. Order routing can be enabled. If you click the gear icon on the website, app.pulsex.com, now your trades can be more efficient by taking multiple routes. It doesn't route across V2 yet. Here I have the website now here for you. All you have to do, it's not set by default. It's only on V1 right here. If you click on this cogwheel, you press it, you'll see this order router. You're going to have to press on it and it will automatically try to find the best prices from multiple liquidity pools, because right now you could only do it manually from hopping from one place to the other. But when you have order routing ticked on, you'll be able to grab liquidity and prices from multiple areas, and if it needs to hop around, it'll do it automatically for you and it will give you better prices. So this is definitely a very much welcomed update. So he says this feature will be even more powerful if people add liquidity to the intermediate pairs, for example DAI and bridge. So he's basically saying if you add pairs in between the middle ones. So it doesn't even really matter, friends, because you can't really do anything on V1 anyway. You need the farms and there are none. You don't even earn fees. So this has only been done for V1. It's not V2 yet. So I'm just guessing V2 is coming very, very shortly. And then hopefully you'll be able to route across the whole website and give you the best prices. And it will be great. So this will be great for the whole ecosystem, because if people want to buy Pulse and you're in some random poopy coin with some poopy coin pair, then the liquidity can at least help people match their buys and their sells. So more volume will be spread out across other liquidity pools. It'll make it more efficient and it'll be fantastic to see that. So these updates are going to continuously be pushed, and you can see right here, he's got an example. For example, this holds more for than just DAI. In order to get access to all the liquidity, a liquid route has to exist. So he's just showing the different paths here. So look at the order router here. It's got to go from multiple places, from Pulse, PulseX Inc., back to Pulse, PulseX Inc. You can see these different routes it's taking, right, just to get the best liquidity. So this is almost like 1inch, except it doesn't grab multiple websites. It's just grabbing the liquidity and the best prices it needs to fetch from app.pulsex.com itself. So as a friendly reminder, if you are in the ecosystem, friends, the ecosystem is still very, very cheap. So here I have just a chart here. For example, this is just eHEX, and you can now see it's still under parity and it's just sitting here, shifting here. Doesn't really matter. I change this now to a weekly chart. I'm not going to bother with these dailies. And maybe you'll just sit here and just plop around and go wee. Maybe it does that and eventually comes back. Who knows? Who knows if it ever comes back? Maybe it just sits here. Maybe another farm comes out. We don't know. So you can also check the other prices as well. Pretty much everything is cheap. The PulseChain ecosystem, if I just click here to show you quickly, the ecosystem itself, the volume has been decimated. It's down to 24 million. We did 350 million on the opening weekend. So you can see this is normal though, right? So when there's a launch, everyone comes in, then everybody gets over it and they go and move on. So it's just a matter of time. Things build the runway. We need more projects to be placed. And yes, they are. They are already launching. So everything's going to plan. Just takes time. So I even have here, I have day one sacrifice here mapped out for you. You can see on the chart. So this is Pulse, PLS itself. And you can see now we are still hovering around that day one sacrifice price. Don't forget that the whales are down from down here, down to this price, because they got a volume multiplier. So PulseX is absolutely crushed still. A lot of people were in disbelief. They did not believe it would go down this low because they said there was liquidity issues at the start and it's not real prices. And yeah, unfortunately, well, we got decimated. I mean, from the price, we go down 67%. Everyone waited 2 years. It is what it is. You got to suck it up. If you can't suck it up, click sell and leave, right? I'm telling you, I can suck it up. I am used to this game. I've seen it time and time again. You have to ignore short-term prices. I'm playing for the long term. And it doesn't mean you don't feel bad. Yes, it feels embarrassing knowing that people get to come in and buy better than your position and they didn't have to delay gratification at all. It always feels bad for a long period of time. A lot of people thought it would have recovered by now, but you can't do anything about it. If you want to end your pain, you can just click sell and leave. I'm staying in. I'm accumulating more. That's all I can do. A lot of people like to throw stones and pebbles and they like to go and have a cry. But really what they're doing is they're crying at themselves. They are projecting. It's because they themselves, they're losers. They're not part of the friendship crew. So they can't possibly imagine that anybody else out there can actually stand firm on their 2 feet and say, yes, I'm going to have some courage and I'm going to stick to the plan. Okay, these people can't. They're weak. They drink soy. They have hunchbacks. They wear crumpled slippers. These people, axe them. We don't need them, okay? We are still sticking to the plan. We're going to wait and see what comes out next. Of course, you have Richie Hart making updates. Now, if I was to just have a bit of a speculation here, and look, it's not really speculation, it's truth. Instead of friends doing one update with 15 items, okay, this is very suboptimal to do this. If you do one update and there's just like 15 upgrades, it's a waste. It's an absolute waste. In crypto, it's a waste. You know why? Because in crypto, it's all about the community. It's all about the network effect. And people want to join improvements. Even if it's a marginal improvement. People want to see upgrades. We want to see upgrades, building, working. When you're watching a city grow, you want to see it active. You don't want to see a city get built in 3 months and then just die off for 3 years. You don't care that the city built 15 skyscrapers in 3 months and then that's it, no more activity for 3 years, okay? So I think Richie's doing some sort of similar scheme like that where they do one update at a time. So woohoo, auto routing, woo! And then in 1 or 2 weeks, another update, another one more update. Woo, we got something else. New logo upgrades. And I know you're laughing, but this is the actual truth. This is what people want. It's all about the community. We like seeing activity because as humans, we can't tell the difference between 15 updates and 1. Now, you might say, of course you can, but yeah, but that's you, all right? The average person out there can't. The average person comes in and they have a look and they go, oh, what's going on over here? You're having a look, right? Here, you googly eyes, you're having a look, and all you see is this notice board. And you're like, wow, they did some updates? Okay, and then you just walk away. Now, if they basically explode the volcano, if you know what I mean, if they explode it too big in such a short amount of time, when this person comes back to check for activity in 2 months, and there's nothing there, he's not going to be like, well, that's okay because they did 15 updates, 15 upgrades, 2 months ago. They don't need to do anything else. No one thinks like that. Have you ever thought about that? No. You get out the whip. You literally get out your cute little whip and you go, whoosh, whoosh, get to work. Get to work, my little slaves. That's exactly what you're talking about. Here's everybody with a chain around their neck and the anchor. That's how people talk, especially in crypto. You know that. That's why we even have this joke, devs, do something. That's where this meme and this joke comes from. It's like, devs, do anything. Just do something. Just make an update. Make a new logo. All right, so we're having so much fun here, friends. Of course, press the like button. Subscribe, press the belly button and all. And of course, we're looking through these. You're seeing these prices absolutely crushed beyond imagination. Look at this chart. You're looking at this chart and you're like, wee, minus 99%. There you go. Like, doesn't even matter. People round it down to minus 100% anyway. The real price is about here. The real total combined hex price is about 2.1. So if you were to really do it, which I don't really like doing it anyway, like who the hell cares because you're still crushed. But we are basically double bottoming since 2022. So this is what every altcoin has basically done. Every altcoin has done is around near its double bottom zone from 2022. Many coins, I know Chainlink, I know heaps of others, they're around there. They're sitting around there. Maybe it's a bit of a high low, maybe it's around there. Strong coins have done a super high low right? Weaker coins have went below it. For example, like Sushi and maybe some SEC targeted coins. And HEX is around the double below. That's it. That's just how it is, you know. I can't tell you that the future involves us going up like this. I can't tell you that. I can't guarantee you that. All I can tell you is what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is sticking with it. Take advantage of the yield farms. They're here. Like, if you go through the early HEX days, the people who succeeded were those who basically they shut their mouths and they just staked because they earned the yield. And what happened was their average price dropped. So here I am. I'm going to get the early HEX chart, the full HEX chart. So you see where this flag is? This is where everyone's average price was. That's where everyone who bought HEX, that's where their average price was. And if you staked because of such very high yield at the start, your average price was not 0.003. You did not get that average price because you were increasing the amount of coins you owed, right? So instead, your average price, you got to get basically down here. You basically get this price. Now, I know it doesn't look like much, but when you keep participating and you keep able to, and you staked and you did what the system was designed to do, you significantly increase your position. So that's like a doubling itself. But this average price was only achieved by the end of the cycle. So because you had to keep staying staked, and as each day went on, you were earning more yield, more yield, more yield, more yield. So the example I've given you before is like, if you give me $100 and I give you one apple, but then you go to your backyard and you collect yourself 9 apples, okay? Before collecting the apples, you paid $100, you got 1 apple. You feel like ripped off. But if you were able to find another 9 apples, now your average price is not $100. It's down to $10 for each apple because you have more apples. It's the same principle here. It's rewarding the believers with the inflation. Now, of course, Richard's never spoken about this. He never says this at all. He just leaves this for people to figure out and to speculate. This is something I can show you. He designed the HEX system to do this. And of course, it's just how it's gone, right? So if you go back now to where we are, especially in the PulseChain ecosystem and PulseX, you're wondering, hey, how do I increase my position? What can I do? Well, of course, one, you can DCA, but that kind of sucks because most people already put in as much money as they can from 2 years, okay? So you can do that. You probably should do that, of course, but you also have the opportunity to yield farm. That's why there are these app.pulsex.com yield farms. If you go here, you click on the earn, you go to the farms, there are the yield farms out here. Now, as you notice, the yields have been getting crushed. That's because the yield rates are based off the price of INC, INC. And everything's in a bear market zone, depression zone, so everything's really low. But I think it's very likely Ricardo Corazon himself is going to pump INC and just push it back to the top of the range, and he's going to trade it and make everyone believe that it's a real thing again, just so everybody starts to consider storing and hoarding more of it. That's why I'm thinking that. That's because exactly what I would do. Okay, I would not leave INC to just go down forever because INC is basically your spear for the yield because everyone's yield is earned in INC, INC. So of course, when you're looking at this chart, you're just seeing your average price and you're down in PulseX. But these farms exist, friend, for a reason. You have PulseX Pulse. Now, of course, this yield is absolutely shocking. You can't do anything about this because it's 22%. Yeah, it's shocking because you can go and have a look at the PulseX Pulse price. 22%, I'll be honest, isn't going to do anything because how far this PulseX Pulse price has gone, right, and damaged people in terms of impermanent loss has been pretty shocking. Because a lot of people, they wanted to participate and they did, but the impermanent loss, which is the loss you got just from like providing liquidity, say down here, for example, I think I started doing a bit down here. Look at this. From here where we still are, we're down 22%. So what does this mean? This effectively means because of the damage this thing did, in 3 days, because of this rally, literally in 3 days, it went this far. That means you have to spend 1 whole year yield farming the loss at this rate, okay? 1 whole year. See 22%? You make back 22% APR just to be break even from those 3 days of providing liquidity. So that is disgusting. But once again, devil's advocate, as you can see, this thing hit this zone around 0.50 and now it's been going down. So I wouldn't be surprised if this actually mean reverts back down here to 0.25. And that's what I feel like this thing is kind of how it's going to behave. Obviously, there are no guarantees. Maybe it just shocks us and goes up even higher. But I think it's in everyone's best interest if this thing kind of ranges around. You know, they both have value. And that's actually what you want, because you want people, when something deviates from fair value, what we call fair value, we'll just draw a middle of a line here. So I'm going to draw it here. So you want the market to believe this is expensive. But remember, this is expensive PulseX. So this up here means cheap pulse. So this is PulseX to pulse ratio, right? So as you can see, I've even got it written here from a long time. Up here, your DCA buying pulse only, okay? And down here, your DCA buying PulseX only, PLSX, the DEX. And in the middle, you get half and half. You don't have any opinion, okay? So it's in everybody's best interest that this does the sine wave oscillations, because at that point, you know, everybody's going to come and participate on both sides, and they're going to keep things naturally bonded, right? Almost like the eHEX and pHEX, but we need a bit more time for people to kind of believe that this thing is not getting fudded out into oblivion, right? So yes, of course, you should be taking advantage of these whenever you can. Every yield point you get, every 1% matters, okay? Every 1% matters, because every 1% you earn, if that goes 100x from here, you've literally made your whole account. So if you are yield farming on $10,000 and you earned 1%, and then you harvest your ink, your INC, and you dumped it and you bought either HEX or eHEX or PulseX or Pulse, you bought any of them or all of them, if that whole bag goes up 100x, that's 10 grand for you. That's crazy, right? And yeah, it might take 2 years, but hey, isn't that great? Isn't that great? Just because you were yield farming for like this 14-day period or 21-day period where you just did nothing, that you get a 10 grand payment in the future. This is why I was talking to you about decreasing your average entry price through the mechanism of getting more coins. All right, so this is the way it's been going. Now, most people, obviously, we're still waiting for Richard Hart's streams and what's going to happen from now. What can you really do about it? Nothing. I guess he's going to come out when he thinks it's ready, when he thinks he gets the most bang for buck, when enough updates are there. I don't think he wants to be streaming and wasting time, because he's probably doing a lot of work trying to nail all the most important updates, because he wants to most likely be ready to onboard thousands and millions of people. He doesn't want to tell people, hey, use these 2 features. There's 9 more that are missing. You know, no one wants to say that. You want all of them there. It's like trying to sell someone a car and you're like, hey, don't use the air conditioner, don't use the horn, and yeah, don't open the glove box. You know what I mean? You can't say that. He wants everything polished and ready. And as you can see from Bitcoin's run right now, we're all basically taking a back seat just so Bitcoin can flurry up and we can get more bullish optimism coming. And my final message, friends, I will just end it with having a look at the eHEX pHEX ratio. So I've been seeing a lot of comments from people who, they just because HEX altogether is down, they have been saying, hey, they've been saying, well, Richard Hart, he fudded eHEX. He says the market's chosen this. Why should I get in? It's not cheap or anything. And that's completely fine. But I just want you to know, whether it was intentional or not means absolutely nothing, because these are just marketing gimmick words, okay? Because I can easily use his tweet where he basically soft fudded eHEX. I can use his tweet and just flip that back on the entire ecosystem. Like, I could just use his words and say, look at this. I could draw a chart here and say, well, the market has clearly chosen HEX not as a store of value. It has said you are a terrible store of value. You don't have product market fit. You're down minus 99%. You see how easy that was? Okay, well, look, I'm stating facts. I'm not saying anything. I'm stating facts. So I think you're being a bit disingenuous if you genuinely believe that, like, go, yes, there is FUD or there isn't FUD. That's completely missing the point. It doesn't matter. You got to be thinking about the next 1 million people coming in. You got to be thinking about how easy it is to add eHEX farms, eHEX and ink farms, eHEX and pHEX farms. You got to be thinking about how easy it is to tell people, well, hey man, you can buy this HEX from Ethereum. It's like 30% discount. You know, imagine pHEX is 11 cents, but eHEX is still 7 cents. You're literally going to get 50% more yield if that works out. Like, it's huge, 50% more than pHEX. Like, the relative value starts to come in and people start to pump these areas, and because of the liquidity is bonded, you'll be very surprised what happens. And you know, you still have that looming issue with the supply of eHEX, but in my experience, this is just me, right? Whenever you target one big bad guy and you think, oh, they're going to sell everything, it's always wrong. It's never that big bad guy, I promise you right now. It's going to be someone who you least expect, and they're going to stab you in the back. That's always usually going to be that. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised. See, everybody thinks like pHEX and eHEX are going to rally, or eHEX is going to rally for this to come back. I wouldn't be surprised if there's just one day someone absolutely capitulates out of pHEX, and the pHEX destruction kind of sends this up. You know, these things happen in markets. They always shock you, and I'm getting all these deja vu moments where I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I believe that the spread will come back because of like a certain coin's strength, but you actually find half the time a spread comes back because of a certain coin weakness. And of course, this spread would be kind of going back towards parity, closer to parity, if pHEX dumped, right? Now, you haven't seen any of that now. You can't possibly imagine it. But hey, there's a lot of people out there, friends, and they can get fudded out of anything. So I'm still DCA buying. I'm still accumulating. The ecosystem's doing great. Yes, the volume is low, but this is just what we have to do. It's US summer. Hopefully things start to pick up once Bitcoin finally is happy with its range, and then we can get the rest of the market cycle continuing, because it's going to be a great 2023 end and 2024. Like, subscribe, press the bell button and all. Tell mom and dad we're still going to make it. Catch you in the next one.